Are you willing to accept Christ's invitation to know Him more intimately, love Him more intensely, and follow Him more closely, and then go out into the world and live His good news? If you say yes, then you could be the 13th apostle. Join Dan Duddy and Tom Caffrey, the odd couple of Catholic radio, as they ride the radio waves 2 by 2 to share the goodness, beauty, and truth of Jesus Christ and His church. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the 13th apostle.
Calls my name. The Romance Hour, WQPHradio.org. This is Tom Caffrey with my partner, Dan Duddy. How you, Danny?
Hi, Tommy. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm in what kind of mood would that be? I'm not in a romantic mood, even though that's what that's supposed to elicit. Just a lighthearted mood, and I thought, since our topic was what, Dan? Is
angels.
All right. Now, I know we both know that we've never said on the 13th apostle, and I'm sure nobody on WQPH radio has said that there is an angel called Johnny.
Not an archangel, anyway. the archangel Johnny.
Oh, boy. I'm going to say, see, in my diocese, we have to say the prayer. And in yours, too. We were both in the same diocese.
Oh, gosh.
You got to say the St. Michael prayer, right?
Yeah, I just had this vision of the archangel Johnny with hair slicked back and leather wings and pointed shoes.
Whatever it takes.
That's not sacrilegious, right? That's humor. We're okay, right?
We're okay, yeah. I'm wearing rubber-soled shoes. Just
yeah, there you go.
And that was as you, Shelley, right?
Yeah, Shelley February.
Yep. 1962. Wow, that's really something. Anyway,
I was 6 years old.
Yeah, we both were. That's right.
We're still both the same age.
Yeah, it's there's a lot. I think part of what got me thinking about that song is, I was tempted by Hark the Herald Angels and whatnot. It's just an angel and angelology it really requires imagination. Not that other parts of our faith don't require imagination. Mm-hmm. Catholics actually should have very good active imaginations. Mm-hmm. Not to imagine something that's not there, that doesn't exist or couldn't be, but to try to understand something and to have a reality go deeper into us. And so the angelic appearances and the way, plus I think so much of our faith, we've talked about this with the medieval period really affected our thinking and our of how Catholicism is. And so we have, the chubby little, the cherubims and whatnot. Though the version, they were by a couple of Italian artists at the medieval period. And so when we see paintings, we assume that, that's the way those artists represent the truth of our faith. And many times, who knows, it might be most of the time, they didn't get it right. It was their imagining, but, they got really creative, and they came up with something that did not exist or was not a reality. At least if we're going by, for example, the Caravaggio's painting, and this might be true for a lot of his artwork. It's very, very, I wasn't an art major, so I'm not sure the right term, but his paintings are very, very real, graphic, a lot of shadows. But his painting of St. Thomas the Apostle and probing the wounds of Christ. And a lot of people, I did for the longest time, actually until I went through the theology program, believed that Thomas had put his hands into the wounds. And, of course, sacred scripture doesn't say that. Jesus is offering that to him, inviting him to do that, but it never says that he did it. So we don't know whether he did it. So with angels, we need, I guess in a way, and critics of Catholicism could say, yeah, you need somebody with such a brilliant mind as Thomas Aquinas to try to help us understand something that is so far out there, meaning angels. So before I go on, anything you want to say about your thinking and understanding of experience with angels?
I think we've all experienced something to do with angels.
That's a broad statement.
Well, I think at the very least, in our vision of such is very, very touching and powerful, and it affects us. I think the majority of us, well, if not all of us as Catholics, believe that we have a guardian angel. I do not envision my guardian angel to look anything like an archangel. My vision of an archangel is powerful. There's a part of me that wants to be an archangel, because of the commissioning of the archangel, the servant of God. And we're going to dig into our archangels a little bit tonight, but
they're all servant of God. So what is it about the archangel that you?
In the way that they serve, I mean, we're going to talk about Gabriel. Gabriel was the incredible messenger of the most incredible and effective and influential events of our very faith, and it seemed that Gabriel was that guy, and he's seasonal right now for us because we're just coming out of the Epiphany.
A seasonal angel. That's really good. I never heard it put that way.
Well,
very good.
Case, I mean, well, and then of course we have Michael, who we pray to now at the end of every Catholic Mass.
Well, in our diocese.
Only in our diocese? Is that true?
I don't know if it's. I mean, I know other dioceses do not. So.
I guess I got to get outside of my diocese. I've been outside my diocese, and we've prayed the prayer of St. Michael. In fact, down in South Carolina, we did. So I guess it's optional for diocese.
I'm sure I know that parish you went to, and if it's the parish, I think the priest that we interviewed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So you can imagine
that.
And who could not be positively influenced by the power of St. Michael in that prayer? Raphael is a little bit of a stranger to me. I'm getting to know him a little bit more now in our studies heading up into this episode. But yeah, anywhere from cherub pink cheeks to the archangel, who us as men, I can only assume, knowing you as many years as I have, wonder why these studs are at the bottom of the hierarchy, where the cherubim and the seraphim are at the very, very top of the hierarchy, but they're close to God at all times, singing him praise. So I do understand that. But why are the archangels just one step from the bottom of the hierarchy? I think what it says to me is that angels from top to bottom are just so gosh darn powerful, underrated in my life. I just don't go to them enough. But as a messenger of God, you yourself, myself, both of us now, teachers in the classroom and doing radio, Gabriel should be one of my absolute go-to patron saints. And he has not been until now.
That's interesting. You said patron saint.
Yes, that's another thing I wanted to discuss.
Go ahead.
And you can help me.
And we're going to get back to you with your stud comment, but go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. And we try to talk as plainly as we possibly can.
Well, you do.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I try to talk not plainly. It just doesn't work.
No.
You should come toward a little bit toward me. The sainthood of these celestial beings has left me with some questions. We know our saints that have flesh, that walk the earth, that died on earth. And we know them well because we are human as they are now in the community of saints in heaven. Where is that familiar sainthood in these celestial beings that Michael the Archangel is called a saint. Where is that? Why is that? How is that? Can you explain that to me?
Well, I would say, first of all...
Tom, let me just say this one more
time.
Yeah,
go ahead.
They came from heaven. They originated from heaven. And of course, their home is heaven. They come from heaven with their messages. But yet they're called saints. Even though they... Anyway, go ahead. You get where I'm going. But go.
Well, are there miracles associated with, as the church? Are you saying the church has canonized them based on the usual criteria of 2 miracles? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. We're discussing it. What miracles are attributed to these?
I don't know.
Archangels.
I never thought about it until you brought it up. So
you're proposing like hypothetical questions that have to do with the canonization of a saint or what qualifies a saint to be a saint.
Well, I'm not even qualified to talk about it because I don't know anything about angelic sainthood. But I do. I mean, if you want to talk more about that, by all means. Do you?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, you brought it up, so that's why I was wondering what you're talking about. I don't
have the answers right now.
No, so, no. Yeah. I want to get back to your stud comment.
Did I say stud?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay.
You can play it back. So, since angels have they're immaterial. St. Thomas, Aquinas, and others referred to them as St. Augustine, pure intellect. They have existence, but it's immaterial existence. So really, it's their function as opposed to really who they are and how we can envision them outside of the way the artist envisioned them with, they're typically portrayed as men. Later on, they become, maybe even more modern, they become really androgynous. You can't tell whether they're male or female. But for the most part, throughout history, it's been male. And a very, very bright, and they've got bodies and wings and whatnot. But again, that's an artistic dramatization. And that's helpful in terms of maybe books or movies or stuff like that. Again, artwork, it's great to look at. I mean, wow, how could an artist portray something that's immaterial? Maybe you could try in terms of they could just put a splotch of a bright white or something like that on which I'm sure they could, but it's certainly that's not going to hold your attention long unless you're going to meditate on that. But you're going to look at a person, really, somebody who's portrayed as a person, but they're an essence of energy, and they serve God. They don't have bodies, and there's no bodily functions because they don't have bodies. So I can think of we just finished with Christmas, and a movie I've seen many times over the years, The Bishop's Wife. And in that movie, one of the stars the star is Cary Grant. And he is the angel. The other actor is David Niven, the British actor. And then I think the woman is Vivian Lee. No, that's, oh my gosh, I can't think of her name now. Anyway, so David Niven, he's a Protestant minister, and he's trying to, he's got this parishioner who's wealthy, and she's a widow, but it turns out she's racked with guilt about something. I won't go into that, just in case our listeners want to be totally surprised about everything. But she holds the purse strings to this new, beautiful Gothic church that David Niven, as the minister, wants to build. And so he's not sure what to do, and he's torn between what to do. And so he says a prayer, and all of a sudden, Cary Grant appears, and he turns out he's the angel. So again, that's an embodiment, that's an artistic license, to say, okay, this is what an angel looks like. But of course, they now hold on though. Thomas does say that they manipulate matter, so they're not matter, but they manipulate matter, and they can assume bodies, sort of like borrowing a body, because then only that way could they interact in a way that humans could see them, and maybe that would be one of the miracles, but that humans could see them. So a creature to see an embodied creature, because angels are creatures. Everything is a creation of God. But now here's where we get a little dicey. They do not assume corpses. So, and Thomas says the body doesn't have to have life, because it doesn't need to see, hear, taste, procreate, and whatnot, as I said earlier. But for a human to be able to see them or to have some experience of them, it's got to be through one of the senses. So anyway, Thomas really, he writes, and I urge our friends out in the audience to read up on some of the work by St. Thomas Aquinas on angels, because he really gets into it quite a lot. So the way he writes is that they are here to inform humanity of divine realities, and therefore, by doing that, lead people to God. That is a great way to understand, to inform humanity of divine realities. That term, divine realities, that covers a lot of ground. You know, you really can fill that with whatever you can do in your mind. You can fill with that divine reality, and leading people to God. It's their chief action. So, it's kind of like God employs them, and as part of their instrumental in divine providence. So, who knows what exactly Mary saw? But it's got to be the way Thomas described it, and he was basing some of his writings on Mary's. This is just one example. Mary's experience, let's put it that way, her experience of Gabriel. Obviously, she heard him. Whatever she saw, it's common in sacred scripture for people who experience angels to be afraid of them or terrified of them initially. And,
I looked at some artists' renditions of Gabriel, for example, and in some I saw that fierceness that you were just alluding to. That would be fearsome to see him. Would scare you, and I'm sure he did. And I think it's written that Joseph was completely taken back by it and scared. But I believe, because of the artist's depictions, and we are, as created in us to be the ability to do so, I've seen much softer versions of Gabriel where you saw that feminine side, where there's no strong gender. And I could see that depiction of Gabriel as the one who visited Mary, with that female softness that had invited her into the grand scheme of where these things were about to go. I said studs earlier, and that's just a blanket football thing that flies out of one's mouth sometimes, but it's...
I think you're right, though.
Satan embodied, not truly, he's a celestial being, that's not sort of saying, but he was the ultimate extreme embodiment of evil, virtueless evil. And then we have an example with our three archangels that were the absolute opposite of Satan. They are studs to me, nothing but virtue, not to be confused with the virtues, which I think are second or third on the totem pole of the hierarchy, those angels. But they are studs. They were the ones that they're the antithesis of evil, yet stronger than evil. Satan is scared to death of the archangels. If I'm having a really, really rough night and I'm waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which happens to be the magic hour for some reason, I'm either going to feel a great deal of evil or I'm going to feel some good. But I'm usually woken up by a feeling of darkness. And the moment I go to St. Michael the Archangel or Our Lady, I am filled with peace. I am filled with
So
peace.
we were saying he. So
Yeah, I know.
So
Yeah.
Michael,
His name's Michael.
as an example. Yeah, yeah, okay. So I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Thank you.
They're
Go ahead.
immaterial, but he's a stud. Obviously, not because he's strapping. He looks like a linebacker, but he's a stud because of what he does, right?
Well, you said it. St. Thomas Aquinas said it, the other St. Thomas. Informs humanity of divine realities. That's a stud.
Yeah, and especially if you're doing battle with demons, because those are the fallen angels are demons.
Yeah, of course you're doing battle the whole way.
Well, so speaking of battle, everybody should look at 2 Kings chapter 19, verse 35, because in that it describes how God, with the help of the prophet Isaiah, sent only one of his heavenly host. And heavenly host, by the way, when we hear that we see that in sacred scripture, and we hear it in hymns. A heavenly host, it's really a heavenly army. A heavenly host is God's army, and he sent one of his heavenly host to defend Judah, Jerusalem, David, and Hezekiah against the Assyrians. And this angel, it killed 185,000 Assyrians in one night. So, you said stud. I mean, what do they do? A guy can look tough, but he's not tough. He's not a stud. So,
Right.
You and I know a stud is what you do. And
Exactly.
do you think of the angels? I mean, the angels that guarded the Garden of Eden, the entrance / exit of the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve were expelled. You can't get back in. They're guarding them. They are ferocious. The angel that wrestled with Jacob on the stairway, quote unquote, the stairway to heaven. He's a messenger from God, and he has a wrestling match with Jacob. I mean, these are not fluttering. Again, those chubby little. No, these creatures are serious. And there's numerous appearances. Two angels that visited Abraham. Well, first of all, the angelic appearance to Abraham to hold his arm with the knife. Stopping the sacrificing of his son. And then when they appeared to Abraham outside their tent or whatever, and then Sarah is told, or Sarai at the time is told, that she's going to bear a child. What? I don't know. We'll wait till Maura gets to be 85 and then has an angelic experience. Say, okay, you're going to be with child next year. In fact, I think after the episode, you should talk to her about that.
I'll call her.
Do it from a distance, okay?
Yeah, I'll go down the street and call her.
It's just they're great. These are great dramatizations of servants of God.
Yeah.
So, and the idea of being able to announce, I would love to know if Gabriel had some sense as to what message he was delivering. I'm just thinking about it now for the first time. Did he have a clue that this? Did he even have a concept of the Son of God? I mean, he did. He did in terms of the Trinity, but that what this was going to mean in terms of having this human, delivering a message that this human is going to bear another human, and that this human is going to be rule of the world.
Yeah, I think they're highly intellectual. I think they're extremely intellectual.
Well, pure intellect. That's what Thomas is.
Yeah. So how could he not know that?
I mean, I guess you could be super intelligent, but if you weren't taught anything about something, you wouldn't know.
I think he was probably told.
Okay, well, that's your...
Yeah.
And you know what? You're entitled to your intelligent opinion, Danny. And I think, you might be right. I think it's fun to think about. Did he get, well, he couldn't get goosebumps unless he assumed this body and his body developed goosebumps. But I mean, this idea, we've seen It's a Wonderful Life, and, the Clarence, the angel, was trying to get his wings. It's, when we can picture Gabriel coming out of the universe, out of the cosmos, whatever constellation, and making his way. And was he excited that, man, this is going to bring such joy? There's nothing like this that's ever happened in the universe, nor will it ever happen again. And I get to deliver the message. Do you think there might have been a little battle with three studs? Michael?
No.
Raphael?
No, there's no pride there. There's no pride there.
That's right, because they weren't fallen.
Yeah, exactly.
Got to wrap it up.
Really glad.
Go ahead, you can finish it. We got to wrap it up.
I'm just really glad that Gabriel and Michael never appeared looking like Clarence.
Yeah, that would not be too inspiring.
Yeah, that would have shot everything down. We wouldn't have had this show.
I mean, you don't think that? You think of James and John and the sons of thunder and wanted to be at both sides of Jesus?
Studs.
Studs. Were they studs full of pride? Isn't that why Jesus shot them down?
No, they just had a lot of feist. They were feisty. I don't think it was pride. Do you think there was pride when they said, shoot that thunder down here, take care of that crew over there?
Well, I can certainly imagine that the other 10 were pretty annoyed that they tried to hog the position. All right, we got to go. What's coming up next, Danny?
All right, stay tuned, folks, for the Angelus and Your Prayer Intentions with Peter and Jeff.
WQPHradio.org. Very good. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Happy New Year, Danny.
Happy New Year, Tommy. God bless you all, and Happy New Year to you all.
Thank you for listening to The 13th Apostle with Dan Duddy and Tom Caffrey. For more information on Dan, visit his website at www.danduddy.com or email dcduddy@gmail.com. Tom's website is faithpilgrims.com or email trcaffrey@faithpilgrims.com. How about you? Will you be the 13th Apostle?